Hello everyone and welcome. And I'd like to give you a quick basic introduction to some of the key features that folks are typically using when they're interacting with the Einstein Analytics Dataflow Editor. Now to access the Dataflow Editor, we simply log into our instance. And this is the Einstein Analytics Dataflow Editor, so we need to activate the app launcher and jump into Analytics Studio. Now, I tend to find that this utility is most easily accessed within the Data Manager, so we activate the gear in the upper right and select the Data Manager option. And here we want to get to the Dataflow Editor, so on the far left, we will activate the Data Flows and Recipes panel. And the default Salesforce data flow in the Trailhead instances is a good place to start a demonstration. So on the far right, I'm going to activate the drop-down arrow and select the Edit option because I'm going to edit and demonstrate the Dataflow Editor. So here I am looking at an example data flow that has been pre-populated in my instance. At the top of the window, I have various icons that allow me to create the different data flow nodes that you see down here. Being careful that the icon in the upper left is the dataset builder, which we covered previously in another video. That is the process to extract data from your Salesforce instance. You may also use these different digest and remote nodes, etc., to use Salesforce data as well. But this will allow you to pull groups of objects in aggregate together. So we will focus on all of the nodes from here and to the right. On the bottom, you see the various nodes that are performing the data flow operations within this data flow. Each node is designed to perform a very specific task, and that's why you tend to see the multiple nodes here. You may click and slide around the nodes to move them. Just be careful not to activate the trash can icon unless you absolutely are certain you want to delete your node. Now, don't spend too much time moving around the nodes. At this time, the Dataflow Editor does not save any of the locations where you save your nodes. You can see here from the names of these nodes that we are in this node acquiring user data and this node acquiring account data. And here is where we are performing a join of those data sets. Now, as we are progressing through the data flow, the output is always going to be a data set. However, it is not visible to the end user, and it does not count against your row count until you register that data set. So all of these interim nodes are only temporary and discarded once the data flow is completed. So the key nodes that we typically see people use within the Dataflow Editor are these nodes that are acquiring the initial data, either from external systems, from your Salesforce system, or data sets that you have already acquired and perhaps performed some operations for. Another common node is the augment node, that is our join node. If you are familiar with different types of joins, this is very similar to a left outer join. And certainly the compute expression is another popular node, and there are numerous other nodes that are available that perform various different operations, and we will talk about these in more detail later. What I would like to highlight as a best practice set of guidance is if we know, for example, where in our data flow we'd like to add a new node, so perhaps after this join opportunity node, I highly encourage you to be opening that node and to copying its node name to make it easier to search for when you're adding your new node. So let's say after this node, we would like to add a compute expression, and this is definitely a common operation. So I will activate this compute expression node, and I can call this whatever I would like. And here you can see why I copied off the source node. If I paste it in here, I don't have to search through all my nodes. I can go directly to the one that I want, and I do have to click it and activate it so that it is included. So at this point, I'm not going to add compute expressions. We will talk about this in more detail in our class, but I can just simply hit the Create button, and you can see that our additional new fields for the compute expression node has been added into our data flow. Whenever you're happy with your changes, you can go ahead and hit Update Data Flow. That will save your changes. We highly encourage you to be downloading any changes you make using this download button, and you can save your data flows in various states in your source control management system that you may have available, or we encourage you to find your best utility to be archiving and saving these copies. If you need to restore a data flow that you have downloaded, you can simply use the upload button and that will restore it after you then hit Update Data Flow. So thank you. Those are the initial key tips for working with the Dataflow Editor, and we'll talk about things in more detail during our classroom session.